The solo life in Rust is incredibly difficult. Even if you're a duo, farming up for a compound or something with a shell can be a ton of work and usually ends up not being worth it. Thankfully, with today's base design, you have the perfect mix of online defense and offline security, and it manages to do all of this in one incredibly small package. However, I'm not going to waste too much time telling you about it. Instead, let's get into a tour. Coming right in off the bat, we're going to go up a standard jump up into a nice little airlock with some nice quick drop loot on the left here. Coming downstairs, a little bit more storage for those quick depots. Coming to the right, we've got our workbench as well as a locker, giving us a nice little area here where we can quickly move back and forth. Coming in through this door, we've got a couple doors to more loot, and this is going to be our little bit more secure loot with our cooking as well. Doubling back, we're going to go upstairs into what is our shooting floor. To the right here, you see we've got some nice frontline coverage as well as some door access peak. You'll notice that going up, we have a ladder hatch. This is a secondary exit to our roof. Coming in through here, we've got some nice angles down, a good vision around the base. We take this garage door and you can see here, we've got a nice little peek down both into the base and onto the roof. That, coupled with directional peaks all around, gives us great defense if we are defending an online raid. This means at any point we could spawn up here and defend our way down, or from down there we could chuck a couple grenades up here and clear it out. Up here we've got a couple turrets. It only takes 2 to completely defend this roof, and that's going to cover most of your angles. As you can see from up here, we have peaks all around it, which is incredibly important. In through here where our ladder hatch is, you're going to see that we've got more peaks down, again giving us that area to kill any possible door campers and cover out our front. Going in through here, we're going to have a very important vending machine hidden and tucked away. And then up here, we've got a little respawn room. Nothing special, but it is useful to have a bag and maybe a couple guns just in case you are getting raided. All in all, you're going to have a lot of defendability as well as a pretty high raid cost. And you might have noticed that the bunker is pretty well hidden. That's because the bunker is actually hidden down below this ceiling piece and is only accessible from the inside. Your bunker isn't the only thing that you need to keep secure and hidden. In fact, you're probably giving away way more information than you realize. Thankfully, with today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN, we can fix that. Did you know that every time you connect to a server, you're giving out your IP? That's right, like it or not, every server you've ever connected to has your private information. But we're going to fix that with Surfshark's virtual private network. Surfshark works in a lot of ways to protect you and your data, allowing you to change your location, mask your IP, and encrypt all of your data with one simple program. At the same time, Surfshark works to protect you from scams, malware, and even that angry group of hackers. Of course, it's not just in-game that this is helpful, since your subscription carries over to all of your devices. That means if you're trying to browse things on your phone or trying to watch the latest season of a show that isn't available to you, we can fix that. With apps being banned and things being unavailable, if you want to stay in control, you'll need a VPN. And right now, with my link down below and code REXMORE, you'll save 83% and get 3 months absolutely free. Pair that with a 30-day money-back guarantee, and it'd be silly not to give it a try. One of my favorite aspects of this base, besides its defendability, is the fact that its footprint is relatively small, so you can build it just about anywhere. A lot of times fumbling with base locations can be really problematic, and I like with this, it's fairly simple. The things you really got to worry about is you want these pieces here to probably be the highest around, just to make sure that you'll be able to honeycomb later. And then next you want to make sure that you can place 2 raised foundations here. These are actually critical for your bunker to work, so you do want to get these placed. Next we can go ahead and upgrade these, and we can close this in. Up here we're going to place a double door to the left and close in everything else. Right here we're going to place 2 half walls like so, and you are going to place a door frame up here. Go ahead and destroy this bottom one here. A little easier if you've placed your TC already, and because you probably won't have access to the commands to do so. I like to place my TC very snug in the corner here against this wall. But if it's a high pop server, you might not have that luxury. Go ahead and place and upgrade these. Get your door frame here. That's going to protect your TC. Coming up here, we're going to go ahead and surround this. And place another couple doors here. At this point, we can go ahead and seal everything up. And this will be our starting base. Over here, we're going to place our 2 large boxes that are going to function as our core storage and our storage for now completely. It is helpful to place a twig half wall here to make sure that you can line up correctly. You can go ahead and destroy that. This area here I would use as my furnaces early on, but you are going to want to ultimately seal it in as it is going to become honeycomb. If you do have the materials to expand, I do recommend going a little bit further and at least getting this floor flushed out, but the costs currently for the base are on the screen, and you do want to keep this here to make getting in just a little bit easier. Now obviously we don't plan on staying like this for too long, and this is only meant to be a starter while you get your farm down. As soon as possible, we're going to want to go ahead and upgrade these 2 walls. We're also going to place a floor piece here. At this point, you do have to pick up this door because we're jumping up here. We're going to place a wall facing towards us here, and then all around here, half walls. Coming here, we can close this off. And then we can jump up to here. And getting around, even with that bottom piece open, absolutely no problem. It does take just a minor getting used to for the jump. We can close this off. And we're going to add a single door frame right here with it opening outward. Now obviously, since we did close off this room at the back, we no longer have a jump up. So we do need to create a new entrance to the base. For that, we're going to place a triangle here, a square here, and a triangle here. At the same time, it is kind of important sometime early on you get a triangle placed on the other side of this, because we do want to completely cover in those raised foundations. Getting that covered in early can be a huge security thing, so it's something I recommend for sure. Next off of here, we can close this in. This is going to be extra honeycombing. Very important if you ask me. And we're going to create a ramp right here. Do that, we're going to do this. Now, whether you close in each spot is really a personal preference, as you don't need these extra walls in between, but that extra security can make it a lot harder for someone trying to rocket right in, so it is something I do recommend doing. Over here, we are going to completely close this off, as a roof piece would still show the fact that we have the raised honeycomb, or the raised foundation rather. And then on the square, we're going to go ahead and put a roof piece and close it off with a final roof piece here. At this point, we can close this, and we can add ourselves a nice little airlock. Now you do want to make sure that this door actually opens inward, not only for the ease of jumping in quickly, but also so that it actually airlocks in every direction. Go ahead and close this off. In here, you will ultimately be putting either a battery or your locker. Some people are going to say use it as your battery room. I prefer to keep my battery in the core, and I like having a locker right here. We are going to go for the locker. Jumping out this side door here, we're going to jump down here and place a triangle and square. And we're going to close this off just like we did over on the other side. We're going to make this 2 stories high. And this is going to give us the rest of our loot rooms, as well as a nice little decoy if someone does try to raid. Now at this point, you are either going to need to use a furnace to jump up or get a ladder hatch. I do recommend a ladder hatch, but of course it is completely optional. And before you place this door frame, it would be a great idea to put in your shelving first. And then of course, since you can't fly, again, you are going to want to get that ladder hatch going as quick as possible. Or again, a furnace jump up works just perfectly fine. And there we have it. Now it is at this point, to go any further, you will finally need those garage doors. But until this point, you do actually have a fully functioning base, though you should close off these honeycomb as well. And it is actually fairly protected. If you did need to log off for whatever reason at this point, you could very easily just keep your door here, and we can seal ourselves right into the bunker. In order to seal the bunker, you're going to want to put all of your valuables down here, place ourselves a twig wall facing outwards, and then simply close it up. At this point, you have to spawn inside to get out, which you might want to make sure you have your bags here. Unfortunately, that does mean if you are following step by step of this video, you've now permanently locked yourself out of your bunker, as you don't have the luxury of teleporting back in. You can fit nicely 2 bags in here, so I do not recommend any more than a duo in this base. As you can see, when you destroy the twig, it simply opens up the bunker for you. This does mean I recommend only really bunkering it up when you get offline, but the security that it offers is pretty good. Over here, we're going to start our box placements. Placing one very nicely against the wall here, and doing the same over here. At this point, you will have to go outside of the base to get around to the backside. Back here, we'll place a temporary foundation, using that to make a shelf, placing it through the wall, and destroying all of these, making our way back inside, and upgrading that shelf. I do recommend upgrading shelves to at least stone, though that is a point of contention. I just honestly don't like anything else's upkeep, so I do recommend upgrading the shelves to stone, but that is a personal preference. Your box placement here is fairly simple. You just kind of want to get them jammed in, get as much as possible. I do also recommend this small box down here. From this point, we can nicely fit 2 furnaces right here, and you have a very nice loot room already. You can just go with your double doors or even upgrade it to an armored door and access everything very easily, but I do recommend garage doors if you don't have armored doors. Jumping upstairs, we can place our tier 2 here, which will eventually be replaced with a tier 3. Not only is this the most convenient spot in the base to have it because you'll have access to all of your loot, it also adds that extra layer of security if someone does raid through this wall, as they would then have to not only destroy this wall, but then destroy the tier 2 or tier 3 to get any further. That can be a huge low-cost way of keeping your security up, so I do recommend using that spot. Now that we've got the garage door installed, we're ready to upgrade and move on to adding a shooting floor. However, because this is a very good stopping point for the base, I am going to have the current costs on the screen right now. However, expanding into the shooting floor is pretty easy and is not that much more cost to get this base done. Though I do recommend expanding just because it is going to give you that extra security and peace of mind. Coming over here, now that we've surrounded everything with windows, we can go ahead and upgrade that. On this side, we are going to add a triangle here and here. And on one side, we're going to add half walls, and the other, we're going to add windows. I like to add the windows towards my front door as it is going to be extra angles to protect from. Go ahead and add doorways. These are completely optional on the inside, but I do recommend this outer one. In here, we are going to put triangles on both sides here. The middle, however, is optional. While you can cover it in and just leave that like that, I like a secondary roof access point. So I am going to put that there, and we are going to fill that with a ladder hatch. Go ahead and put some doors in here, and we can move up to here. For this, we are just going to flood in a bunch of floor pieces. Essentially just closing off our roof as you normally would. Upgrading all of these. And then we can add in some ramps. These are optional. You know, some people, I understand not liking them. I really like the angles that it gives you with crouch meta. It makes shooting a lot easier. Not only that, it actually makes moving through this base a lot easier because you can just crawl right up through here. But I am going to put ramps on all sides. And particularly this ramp that I've just installed here, I do so for a reason. By putting a third wall here, I now have an angle to peek up onto my roof and to peek down into my base. This can be huge if I am getting online raided, as it allows me to segment off my base and defend it from different points. If you did want to add extra doorways into these parts, you would have to place the doorway before the ramp, but I don't think a doorway there or anywhere in here is necessary. Aside from this one here, which is going to be our final roof access. Now, like I said, I like the multiple roof access angles, so I do put a doorway here as well from a ladder hatch. This means if they are camping watching this one door, I do have multiple angles that I can come up from. In here, we are going to place a doorway out, and this is for an optional vending machine. You do not need this. It's just that I find as a solo or duo, it is a lot easier if you can send things from outpost back to your base, or if you can just sell things to the neighborhood. Ultimately, how you decorate that room is completely up to you. And we're gonna close this off. I do recommend having the doorways all around here, as it is gonna make it so that you could walk through here without getting shot immediately. But the extra angles that having doors here gives you is very beneficial. And with this little room done and ready for our vending machine as well as our window frames, let's take care of the rest of the roof. Now I do want to add a third layer, so we're going to come over here and put in 2 half walls. Later on, this is going to become a protected turret pod. This is very handy to have by simply putting your turret in there and filling it in with third walls. It'll do a very good job of protecting your roof. Now that isn't the only reason we're doing that in this base, as the other reason is it provides a nice little peek against these roof pieces. Essentially giving you a spot that you could shoot down, but not fall through. We do want to upgrade and close that in. And then it's the same procedure for the rest of it. Simply placing these squares here, and then coming over here, and we're going to switch to the triangles. Placing them towards us, which can be a little difficult. However, they can be a little finicky and hard to place sometimes. But with a bit of persistence, you'll get it. Once you got those 2 plays, we can go ahead and upgrade those, place in some walls here and here. You might have some trouble with this roof piece here, so I do recommend filling this out first. Something I always forget myself. And we can go ahead and upgrade that. Come up here, and we're going to create a little bit of a bedroom right here. Now this is, again, one of those things that it is completely optional, but I personally cannot survive in a base without a roof bed. The amount of times having a roof bed has saved me is just way too many to count. You can place yourselves a lot of boxes in here. However, I would use locked boxes just to make things a little more secure for yourself. If you are playing as a duo, you might not want to use the roof pieces and instead just close this off normally. However, I like the angles that this gives and the mobility it gives through the base, so I really don't like changing it to this clunky square. Coming off of here, we are going to go up 3, and you're going to want to ladder up. And this is going to give us a nice little windmill platform up here. Once you ladder yourself up here, you can go ahead and place that windmill plump in the middle there. Now with the windmill placed, we obviously need a battery, so we are going to jump down into our base, coming past our garage door, past our shooting floor, obviously ignoring a few options that we could have placed our battery in, and going all the way to the core into our bunker. Now, nicely, we can actually put our battery right here. Now, this is only dependent on if you've placed your beds or bags correctly and your boxes, but it fits super nice into this spot right here. This is going to be the most secure spot in your base, especially once you upgrade everything, and it is where I recommend you store it. Now, as for the upgrade, I do recommend the entire core here, including your TC room, be entirely high qual. In addition to making this entire little square high qual, you should also most definitely upgrade these 2 raised foundations, as they would be a way that somebody could eco into your base. From there, we're going to start upgrading with metal instead. Now for metal, I do recommend upgrading basically all of your loot rooms, as well as the main portions of your base. Now at this point, your base should be looking something like this. Now, as you can see here, I did actually miss this raised foundation, which is something you should definitely cover and honeycomb a little earlier in your base. But aside from that, we do need to add some honeycombing in general. I do recommend covering anything that is metal except for your main doorway basically as soon as possible, as it is going to provide that extra bit of security as well as confusion to the raider. Being able to help make sure they miscalculate that raid cost can be a huge advantage and might be the one that saves your base. For this reason, you should always hide your upgrades, at least whenever possible. While you definitely should honeycomb your loot rooms completely, there is the option of not doing so simply because it does obscure your sight a little bit when you're shooting down from your roof, or your shooting floors, mind you. Because if you do place this wall all the way up here to cover it, you're gonna find very quickly that you've covered part of your angle. Alternatively, not placing that honeycomb, you could simply ignore it and make sure that you leave not so valuable loot up here on this top spot. It's also why I recommend upgrading your shelves, because if you decided not to fully honeycomb that and instead went for the half walls, when someone broke in, they would only gain access to the top. It is a choice that you'd have to make, as it does sacrifice security for defendability, and ultimately it is one of those things where I usually just cover it up, as you will still have plenty of other angles. Now, of course, it is completely optional which window pieces you use, and it really comes down to preference, with these slants obviously offering a little bit more protection, but these verticals giving you a little bit more down and up that you can look at. I do like a nice healthy mix of them, but as you can see, they both definitely have advantages and disadvantages. Coming up to the roof, we've got our nice angles, plenty of defense. All that's really left to do is finalize our turrets. Now, while there are definitely a few options for your turrets, obviously the main one, like I said, we are going to be placing a turret into here. For that one, it is fairly simple. We're just going to place it rather forward and then close that off. And that's going to give him some nice angles to shoot from. And the other one goes right here. This is not only going to protect our door, especially if we do open it, it can actually defend our shooting floor for us. It also is going to ensure that it covers any angles that that one misses. This one taking care of all of these spots here, and this one taking care of all of these spots here. With the two of them, they take care of full protection of your roof, with the only possible offset being right here, where someone could come up here and slowly work on taking out that turret. Now, that said, they would have to get through both, and that is going to make a lot of noise. Real quick, before you go ahead and click on that video being recommended to you, I just wanted to thank Surfshark for sponsoring this video, and if you guys haven't already done so, go ahead and click on that link down below to not only support the channel, but also protect your data.